Welcome to another edition of Whiskey, Games, and Nerd Stuff. Today's whiskey is actually not a whiskey, it's a mezcal. And I'll apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce any of this. I believe this is pronounced ILEGAL Mezcal. I have not tried this yet, but I saw this in the store, saw the bottle, and just had to pick it up. One of the things that struck me about the bottle is I kind of liked the little burnt thing on the side. And it almost looked like this was handwritten on the bottle. It doesn't look like it's a printing. It looks like it's actually handwritten. Not positive or not, but I kind of thought it was cool. And then when I read the back of the bottle, it talks about how this was originally crafted for a cafe and out in Guatemala. And I just did a brief look online real quick, and I guess the reason they call this a legal brand is the person used to smuggle it from Mexico to Guatemala, and apparently there's a really cool story about this. I'll have to take a look at it a little bit in more detail, but the bottle I just thought looked neat as hell. Always a fan of mezcal, especially in Bloody Marys. I always like to replace the vodka with mezcal, and in margaritas I always just do a mezcal instead of tequila. Always enjoyed the taste of this. Never tried this particular brand. I'm excited to try it. So let's go ahead and take a sip real quick. I've let this sit before. Now, this was in a wax seal, so I took off the wax seal because I didn't know how long it was going to take out. But let's go ahead and take a sniff real quick. Love how mezcal smells. It's kind of got that sweet, citrusy smell to it. Like the color, it's a nice golden honey color, but let's go ahead and take a sip real quick. Oh, that is so good. Oh, that is so good. This is a nice. Now I know some people don't like mezcal because they think it's too smoky, but this is a nice light smoke. I can actually taste the oak. I won't even say there's a slight butterscotch in there, but let me take another sip. Oh, yeah, that is so good. All right, I got to pour a little bit more. Wasn't intending to do this, but let's pour a little bit more to enjoy. Let that breathe. And then once again, let me just show the bottle real quick. There is their website. That is so good. All right, let's go ahead and take one more sip. Yeah, I'm going to be trying this in a Bloody Mary later on today, and then I've got a margarita mix that I'll enjoy this as well. Oh, this is so good. All right, yeah, I'm definitely would highly recommend this. Oh, man, that is good. All right, the nerd stuff today. Sorry, I got sidetracked on the mezcal. The nerd stuff today is another comic that I picked up at the Salt Lake FanX a few weeks back. This one is a spin on Edgar Allan Poe. I believe it's from Kevin Meinhardt, and there's the card and the information. And I was able to get this signed, which I thought was pretty damn cool, and what they drew in there. Let me go ahead and show the back and then read it real quick. Edgar Allan Poe is one of the greatest American authors of all time and a favorite of the entire Bradenstone publishing team. Poe is best known for his poetry and short stories, primarily dealing with the macabre. He is also credited with the creation of the detective fiction genre. Over 150 years after his death, his stories, poems, and characters are still known worldwide. He continues to influence countless filmmakers, writers, and artists to this day. This is their spin on some of the stories. Let me go ahead and just open that front. You can tell that looks like Kevin's doing quite a bit of these himself. Definitely great art. Looks like the cover was Kevin Meinhardt and Scott Zambelli. I apologize if I mispronounced that. And the back cover was Andy Lee and Scott Zambelli. Really thought this was cool. Just kind of spinning through some of this. And it looks like this is just volume 1. where they've got the Lake, the Raven, Lenore, Spirits of the Dead, To Em, A Dream, To Tell the Heart. This is just volume 1. I did have a brief conversation with him when I was there. Was very cool to talk to him. I have to say, I've been going to Comic Cons and conventions for a number of years, and one of the things I've always liked about the Salt Lake scene is the fans are always gracious and very, very appreciative of the times of, everybody from Artist Row to the biggest stars. And I think that kind of rubs off on the vendors and independent artists and even the quote stars that come out to see there, because every time you talk to them, they always say how much they love coming to Salt Lake. And I have always enjoyed talking to the people who are doing their own work, whether they're somebody who just did something in their bedroom to something who's doing something professional like this, or the other ones that I've talked about. But everybody's always amazing. They're always friendly. It's a great environment. If anybody has not had the opportunity to go to any of the Salt Lake FanX conventions, back in the day, they used to call it Comic-Con or Salt Lake Comic-Con, and then they would do one twice a year, a Comic-Con and a FanX. It's worth going to. Salt Lake's always a good place to go to. Some great bars in the area, believe it or not, and they've got some great distilleries as well. This is just something I wanted to kind of share real quick. As I did with the other one, I will go ahead and read it through later, potentially do a more thorough review, and if I really like it, I'll order some more. So far, I've had some great luck. Let me go ahead and show their website. I've had some great luck with talking to people and looking at the various things. I bought so many different things there. Spent more than I should have, but sometimes you have to treat yourself. Wanted to go ahead and show this. Let's take one more sip. Okay, I'm lying. Let's take a few more sips of this mezcal. I just need to appreciate this for a minute. Oh, I love that smell. That's sweet. Anybody who hasn't tried mezcal or has a preconceived notion of mezcal, go get a good bottle. Let it sit for a minute. Don't worry about the ice. Some people will put some salt off the side, and some people do a chaser. But there's just something about mezcal that you can't put your finger on. I'll always be a whiskey, bourbon person at heart. But then when it comes to mezcal and scotch, I'll never pass up on a good mezcal. In fact, I actually have a few bottles that I'm looking at. I've got a close friend who goes back to Mexico quite often, and he brings me some off-brand mezcal that is just divine. One of these days I'll talk about it, but it's one of those things where we just haven't had a chance to figure out something that I wanted to do the video on it with, especially since it's not something you go out and buy in the store. It's just something that he gets from the family that does it. So I didn't want to kind of talk about something that people couldn't go out and grab, and this is something you can actually go out and get. Let's go ahead and take one more sip. So delicious. So delicious. I am curious if anybody else does something besides vodka when they make their Bloody Marys. Does anybody else do mezcal with their Bloody Marys or mixes something besides vodka? And when has anybody ever had a margarita with mezcal instead of the tequila? Really would be curious to see what your thoughts are on that. I also would like to know, what is your favorite mezcal? Do you like mezcal? And if you don't like it, is it because you've never tried it? Or do you not like it because you've tried it and it was too smoky or just wasn't a fan of it? Really curious on that. And if you do enjoy mezcal, what are some of your favorite mezcals? And I do apologize if I continue to mispronounce this. And then let's go ahead and show this one more time. Would also like to hear from any fans of Kevin Meinhardt and the art or the what they thought about the story. And also if you went to the Comic-Con, Salt Lake Comic-Con this last year, or go to the FanXs, and what your experiences are, if you have a good time, and some of the things that you enjoyed from it. We'd love to hear that as well. Let's take one more sip. So good. And until next time, cheers.